The forest burned with silver light. The moon hung low, bleeding across the treetops, and a small girl ran barefoot through the mud. Her lungs screamed for air, her heart for mercy. Behind her came the sound of pursuit snarls, claws, a pack that once called her kin. "Run, Leora!" Her mother's voice echoed through the chaos, soft but urgent. "Run and don't look back. Hide your wolf. Survive as human." Branches clawed at her arms as she stumbled through the dark. The night air carried the metallic tang of blood and the scent of betrayal. Somewhere behind her, her mother's final cry split the silence, a sound that would haunt her dreams forever. She fell to her knees near the riverbank, trembling, eyes wide with terror. The moonlight shimmered on the water, and for a heartbeat, her reflection changed. Her irises flared golden, her pupils narrowing into that of a wolf's. Then, darkness swallowed her whole, the air shimmered. The forest went still, a curse whispered through the wind, sealing her wolf within, silencing the creature that once howled beneath her skin. When dawn broke, a girl lay alone by the river, her hair matted, her skin cold, her memory gone. She would wake believing she was human, and the world would let her believe it until the moon came to collect what it was owed. Fade into silence. Rain lashed against the old tavern windows, turning the world outside into a blur of silver streaks. Inside, the fire crackled softly, casting a dim, flickering glow over the small figure seated near the hearth. Leora wrapped her shawl tighter, her fingers pale against the fabric. For 5 years, she'd lived in this border town, a quiet human settlement, nestled dangerously close to wolf territory. Few dared to stay long here, but she had nowhere else to go. The door burst open with a gust of cold air. Several men stepped inside, tall and broad-shouldered, carrying the scent of the wild and something far older. Wolves. Her heart stumbled. She lowered her gaze, pretending to stir her tea, but the pull was immediate, instinctive. She could feel one of them watching her, Alpha Kale. He stood at the threshold, rain dripping from his dark hair, his presence filling the room like thunder before a storm. His eyes sharp, glacial, swept over the crowd before finding her. For a moment the noise faded. Something in her scent hit him like a blow. His wolf stirred restlessly beneath his skin, a low growl echoing in his mind. Not possible. He crossed the room in 3 strides. "You're not from here," he said, voice deep, edged with command. Leora looked up, her breath caught. His gaze pinned her, not unkind, but searching, dangerous. I just work here," she murmured. "I'm human." That word fell heavy between them. Human. Kale's nostrils flared. The scent was wrong. There was something beneath it, faint, familiar, infuriatingly familiar. He stepped closer, close enough that the firelight caught the tension in his jaw. "You smell like—" He stopped himself, eyes narrowing. "Never mind." Leora shifted uneasily. "If you've come for food or shelter, Alpha, you're welcome, but I don't want trouble." His lips curved, not quite a smile. "Trouble seems to follow you." Lightning cracked outside, and for a split second, her eyes reflected its light, a strange, fleeting glimmer of gold. Kale's wolf reacted instantly, clawing at his chest. He turned sharply away, as if burned. "Stay out of my lands." He growled under his breath, before disappearing back into the storm. Leora's pulse raced. She didn't know why her heart hurt. She didn't know why that man's voice felt like a memory. Outside, thunder rolled over the mountains, the sound eerily close to a howl. The storm passed, but its shadow lingered. For 3 nights, Leora couldn't shake the memory of those eyes, silver, blue, fierce and unreadable. Every time she closed hers, she saw him standing in the rain, the air between them charged with something wild and ancient. She told herself it was fear, but her heart didn't believe it. By dawn of the 4th day, rumors spread like wildfire. The Alpha had returned to the borderlands not for patrol, but for her. When Kale rode into town again, the crowd parted in silence. His wolf pressed close beneath his skin, restless, growling in confusion. He hated that centaurs for haunting him even now. It was human, and yet not. He dismounted, boots sinking into the damp earth, and found her stacking crates outside the tavern. "You," he said. Just one word, and she froze. Leora turned slowly. "Alpha Kale." She greeted softly, her voice steady despite the tremor in her chest. "You lied to me." Her brows knit. About what? He took a step closer, his presence radiating authority. "You said you were human." I am. The corner of his mouth twitched, not quite anger, not quite disbelief. Then why does your scent drive my wolf insane? Leora's breath hitched. His voice had dropped, rougher now, almost a growl. She took a step back, but he followed, closing the distance. I don't know what you think you smell, Alpha, but I'm no threat to you or your pack. Every lie is a threat. His hand shot out, catching her wrist. The touch sent a spark through both of them, sharp, electric. His wolf surged forward. Mate. Cale's grip faltered as the word echoed in his head. He let her go, recoiling as though burned. No, that was impossible. The moon goddess would never curse him with a human mate. Leora cradled her wrist, confused but defiant. You're mistaken, she whispered. Whatever it is you're feeling, it's wrong. Cale's jaw clenched. It better be, he said darkly, for both our sakes. Then he turned and walked away, leaving her trembling in the sunlight, wondering why her heart felt like it was breaking for a man she barely knew. In the distance, the pack's howl rose again, long and mournful, as if the forest itself sensed the lie between them. The forest stirred restlessly that night, as though it knew what the moon would bring. Leora stood at the edge of the tree line, the tavern lights flickering behind her, the wind heavy with the scent of rain and pine. In the distance, the drums of celebration echoed faintly the start of the annual blood moon hunt. It was a sacred night for the wolves, a time when the Alpha led his pack under the red, tinted sky to renew their vows of strength and loyalty. No human was allowed near, but something deep inside her chest ached to watch. To feel it, she slipped into the forest shadows, her heart beating in rhythm with the drumbeats. The moon rose huge and red, bleeding light through the clouds, and a low chorus of howls answered its call. She shivered. The sound was beautiful and unbearably lonely. Far ahead the Alpha ran. Cale moved like lightning between the trees, his wolf form silver and fierce. The world was sharp and alive in his senses, the scent of earth, the pulse of prey, the chorus of his pack behind him. But one scent, faint and forbidden, whispered through the air like a ghost. Her. He skidded to a halt, hackles rising. No, she shouldn't be here. The hunt was dangerous, a single misstep, and even he might not be able to protect her. Then came the snap of a twig. Cale turned just in time to see her standing half, hidden behind a tree, eyes wide as moonlight spilled across her face. Leora, his voice cracked through the night, half growl, half warning. Before she could answer, a roar split the air. The rogues had come drawn by the blood moon, feral and hungry. Shadows burst from the trees, eyes glowing red. Cale shifted mid-leap, claws slashing through the first rogue that lunged for her. Run, he bellowed. She stumbled backward, but something deep inside her rebelled. As a rogue tackled Cale from behind, her breath hitched and her vision burned gold. For a heartbeat, her pupils narrowed, not human. Power rippled beneath her skin. Cale froze mid-fight, just long enough to see her eyes gleam like molten sunlight, and then she collapsed, the light fading, her body limp against the forest floor. Leora, he tore through the last rogue and caught her before she hit the ground. Her pulse raced, strong but strange, syncing with his own. Under the blood red moon, he stared down at her face, peaceful, fragile, impossible, and his wolf whispered again, louder this time, mate. Cale's heart thundered. No. He breathed, voice breaking. You can't be. But the moon above them bled brighter, as if it already knew. The morning after the hunt smelled of smoke and iron. Cale stood at the edge of his camp, staring down at the girl who lay unconscious on the cot. Her skin glowed faintly in the pale dawn, a faint sheen of moonlight clinging to her like a secret that refused to fade. He should have left her behind. That was what an Alpha would do, what a leader must do. But when she'd fallen, his wolf had howled in panic. He had carried her back himself, ignoring the looks of his warriors. Now, as she stirred, he caught it again, that scent, not human, not entirely wolf either. Something in between, familiar and wrong in every possible way. She gasped softly, waking. Where am I? Cale's voice was low, almost a growl. You crossed into my land during the blood moon. Her eyes flicked open, wide and unfocused. I didn't mean to. He leaned closer. You shouldn't have survived. Those rogues were out for blood. Her throat bobbed. I was lucky. Lucky, he scoffed. I've seen luck. This wasn't it. His gaze swept her face, searching for a lie, a sign, anything. You fainted before the attack ended, and yet, when I caught you, your pulse was matching mine. Do you have any idea what that means? She blinked, confused or pretending to be. I don't know what you're talking about. Cale's wolf pushed forward, restless. The truth sat just out of reach, maddening. You smell of moonfire, he murmured. Her breath hitched, eyes flashing briefly with panic. Moonfire, an ancient bloodline, he said, extinct, burned out generations ago. His gaze darkened. And yet here you are. The silence between them grew heavy. Outside the tent, murmurs rippled through the pack whispers of the alpha, bringing a human into the den. Others said it was a curse, an omen. Leora's fingers gripped the blanket. If I'm such a danger to you, then let me go. Cale's jaw tightened. If I wanted you gone, you'd already be dead. Their eyes met the air between them, charged, fragile, dangerous. Then, without warning, her face went pale. The moonlight that had clung to her flickered again. She swayed, gasping softly, and Cale caught her just before she fell. Her pulse thrummed against his fingers, beating in rhythm with his own, faster now, feverish. Damn it, he muttered, his chest aching with a feeling he refused to name. He looked up toward the fading moon, its silver edge still bleeding light over the trees. She's not human, he whispered, and the goddess help me, I don't think I want her to be. The wind outside carried the faint echo of howls not from the pack, but from something older, something waiting. The sun had barely risen when the first growl tore through the forest. Cale's head snapped toward the sound, deep, guttural, and close. His patrol was under attack. He didn't hesitate. Instinct took over. Stay here. He ordered Leora, his voice sharp. Do not move. She pushed herself upright on the cot, still pale but alert. You can't go alone. I am the alpha. He cut in, already shifting. His bones cracked, his body elongating until the silver wolf stood where the man had been. Leora's heart thudded. She'd seen wolves before, but Cale's presence was something else entirely. His power filled the air, raw and commanding. For a moment, she forgot to breathe. The sounds of battle echoed outside, snapping jaws, snarls, the crash of bodies against trees. Her pulse raced. She shouldn't move, she knew that, but something deep inside her stirred, a low hum in her blood that wasn't human fear. It was instinct. Then she heard it, Cale's growl cut short by a yelp of pain. Before she knew it, her body was moving, legs carrying her through the tent flap and into chaos. The clearing was a blur of movement and blood. Rogues, half a dozen, surrounded him. Cale was fighting hard, but one broke through, slashing across his flank. Cale, the scream ripped from her throat before she could stop it. He turned toward her, shock flashing through his eyes, and in that heartbeat of distraction, a rogue lunged straight for her. Leora froze. The world slowed. Something ancient inside her snapped. A flash of gold tore through her vision. Heat burned under her skin. Her heartbeat thundered 1, 2, and then Cale's wolf collided with her, pushing her out of the rogue's path. His fangs grazed her shoulder, a protective act turned desperate. The moment his teeth touched her skin, the world ignited. Light surged between them, raw, searing, primal. His mark bloomed across her collarbone, glowing faintly before fading into her skin. The air pulsed with the scent of something forbidden, the scent of a mate bond. Cale stumbled back, shifting partially human, panting, no. His eyes widened as the mark shimmered in the moonlight. I didn't mean to. Leora clutched her shoulder, eyes wide in shock. What did you do to me? Something that shouldn't be possible. He whispered, horror lacing his voice. You're human. This bond it can't. But the mark was there, proof written on her flesh. She shook her head, tears pooling in her eyes. Undo it, please. Cale's wolf snarled inside him, refusing. I can't. The forest fell silent except for the echo of their joined heartbeats, pulsing as one under the dim light. And for the first time, Cale realized he had done the one thing no alpha ever should. He had marked the impossible. The world was still when she woke, too still. The scent of pine and iron lingered in the air. Her shoulder burned where Cale's teeth had grazed her, though no blood remained. She touched the mark gingerly and flinched. The skin there was warm, alive, glowing faintly gold beneath her fingertips. Cale was pacing at the edge of the clearing. bare-chested and furious, his eyes flickering between silver and storm, gray. "You shouldn't be awake," he muttered without turning. Leora frowned. "Why, because I'm human," he stopped. The word hung between them like a blade. Slowly, he turned to face her, his jaw tight, his voice low. "Because a human shouldn't have survived that mark." Her breath caught. "Survived," he nodded. "When an alpha marks a wolf that isn't his fated mate, it burns them alive. No human body could endure that power." She stared down at her unbroken skin. The faint shimmer pulsed softly in time with her heartbeat. "But I'm not a wolf," Cale finished for her. His gaze darkened. "Then tell me what you are." She opened her mouth and froze. Images flickered through her mind. Claws drenched in moonlight, a woman's scream, the taste of blood and rain, then nothing. The memories slipped away like smoke. "I don't know," she whispered. "I've never changed, never shifted. My parents told me." Cale took a step closer, eyes burning with a mix of anger and confusion. "Your scent says human, but your body says otherwise. That mark, it shouldn't have healed." She flinched at the word healed. Her fingers brushed the mark again, and light rippled from her palm, faint and golden, sinking into his skin where a wound crossed his ribs. Cale's breath hitched, the gash sealed instantly. They both froze. "What did you just do?" he demanded, voice raw. I don't know, I just touched you," she stammered, backing away. His wolf pushed forward inside him, snarling with recognition. "That power, it's not human, it's not wolf either." Leora's eyes glistened. "Then what am I?" Cale stepped closer, his hand hovering near her cheek, torn between fear and awe. "A mystery my pack will kill you for, if they find out." Forest wind rose around them, carrying the scent of danger and truth. The mark between them pulsed again, a heartbeat shared, a warning whispered by fate itself. Leora looked up at him, trembling. "Then maybe you shouldn't tell them." Cale's eyes softened, but his words came out like a vow. "You've already changed everything, Leora. There's no going back now." The storm that night had no mercy. Thunder rolled above the pack house as Cale stood before his council, every eye on him waiting for answers he didn't have. The scent of blood and damp earth filled the great hall. "She was seen with you again, Alpha." One elder growled, his voice like gravel. "The human girl." Cale's jaw clenched. "She's under my protection." "Protection," another scoffed. "You're risking the safety of your pack for a stray. She reeks of danger. Her scent twists like magic." Cale's wolf bristled beneath his skin, but he forced his voice to stay level. "Enough." Behind the closed doors of his quarters, Leora paced, heart-hammering. She could hear fragments of their voices through the walls, sharp, accusing, cruel. Every word felt like a blade. She pressed her palm against her shoulder, feeling the faint warmth of the mark still pulsing there. "You shouldn't have done it," she whispered to herself. "You shouldn't have let him." When the doors finally opened, Cale's expression was carved from stone. "They know," he said quietly, her throat tightened. "About the mark, about you." His eyes flickered with something like guilt and grief. "They saw the healing. They're calling it witchcraft. They want proof you're not cursed." "I can explain," she said desperately. "If they just know." His voice cracked like thunder. "You can't, because I can't even explain it." He turned away, fists clenched. "If I defy the council, they'll strip me of the alpha seat. The pack will fall into chaos. They'll come for you, Leora." Tears welled in her eyes. "So what are you saying?" Cale faced her, then eyes burning with sorrow and fury, every muscle trembling from the battle within him. "I'm saying, I reject you." The words shattered the air. Leora stumbled back as if struck. The mark on her shoulder seared, light bursting beneath her skin before dimming to nothing. "No," she breathed. "You don't mean that." He swallowed hard, the scent of his pain laced with regret. "If I don't, they'll kill you. This is the only way." Her voice trembled, broken. "You think rejection will save me? It's the only lie I can tell loud enough for them to believe." He whispered. Outside, the pack had gathered. The door opened, and before them all, Cale spoke the words again, his alpha voice carrying through the rain. "I, Cale of the Blood Moon Pack, reject you, Leora, as my mate." Lightning split the sky. The pack gasped, and Leora, eyes full of shattered stars, turned and fled into the storm. Cale didn't follow. But his wolf howled long after she was gone. The forest swallowed her whole. Rain slashed through the trees as Leora ran, her bare feet pounding against mud and roots, heart breaking with every step. The sound of Kale's voice, those cruel, necessary words, still echoed in her skull. I reject you. She stumbled, clutching her chest. The mark that once burned with warmth now felt cold, hollow. But beneath that numbness, something deeper stirred, a whisper, old and wild, pressing against the cage of her bones. You cannot run from what you are, she froze. The voice wasn't Kale's, it was inside her. Lightning tore open the sky. For a heartbeat, she saw her reflection in a puddle, her eyes glinting faintly gold. Back at the pack house, chaos had erupted. Kale paced near the open gates, rain dripping from his hair, his wolf restless beneath his skin. The council's accusations were still ringing in his ears when the border alarm sounded. Rogues, the beta snarled, dozens, maybe more. Kale's instincts snapped into command. Form ranks, protect the young, don't let them breach the gates. The storm turned red with blood and thunder. Wolves lunged and tore through the invaders, but the rogues kept coming, organized, feral, driven by something unnatural. Kale's claws ripped through one, then another, until his body screamed with exhaustion. A rogue twice his size slammed into him from behind, teeth sinking into his shoulder. He roared, spinning, but another caught him in the ribs. He went down hard, the world tilted, rain poured over his face. Alpha, someone shouted, but the cry was lost in the chaos. Through blurred vision, Kale saw the rogue raising its claws, ready to tear his throat open, and then a howl, not from his pack, not from any wolf he knew. A silver-white shape streaked from the tree line, faster than lightning, brighter than the moon. It slammed into the rogue with impossible force, ripping it away from him. Snarls filled the air, wild, ancient, powerful. Kale could only stare. The wolf's fur shimmered like starlight, eyes burning with molten gold. Every movement radiated fury and grace. It tore through the rogues, one after another, until none dared approach. Then it turned to him. For a moment, its gaze softened recognition, sorrow, love, Leora. He breathed. The wolf gave a low whine, almost human, before bolting into the dark forest, vanishing as quickly as it had come. Kale's blood mixed with rain as he collapsed, breath shallow, heart pounding with disbelief. She said she was human. He whispered hoarsely, vision fading, but her wolf saved me. The storm raged on, and somewhere in the forest, the white wolf howled not in triumph, but in mourning. Dawn crept slowly over the Blood Moon Pack's land, washing away the storm's fury, but not the blood it left behind. The air was thick with the metallic scent of death and the quiet whimpers of the wounded. Kale lay in his chamber, bandaged but alive barely. His every breath felt heavy. Yet one thought pierced through the haze of pain, that wolf. He had seen her eyes. No hallucination could burn that deep. The way she had moved, the way her heart had echoed his, there was no doubt, Leora. He whispered, the door creaked open. He turned, and there she was, soaked, trembling, but alive, human again. Her gaze met his cautiously. You shouldn't be awake. I shouldn't be alive, he countered, voice rough but laced with wonder. You saved me. She looked away, guilt shadowing her expression. You weren't supposed to know. Kale pushed himself up, ignoring the pain in his ribs. You lied to me, to everyone. Her lips trembled. Would you have let me stay if I told you, if you knew I wasn't? Human, silence, then, softly, you're not just not human, Leora. You're something else. She closed her eyes, tears mixing with the dirt on her cheeks. I was born of two worlds. My mother was wolf, my father. Something older. The moon's blood runs in my veins. Kale frowned. That's impossible. The moonblood line was wiped out centuries ago. Her voice broke as she whispered, no, it was hidden. My mother fled during the purge. She made me promise to hide my wolf to live as human. But when she died, she sealed me with a curse. My wolf could only awaken in blood and death, to save, not destroy. Kale stared, realization dawning like a slow sunrise. The curse, that's why your wounds healed, why your scent confuses the pack. Yes, she said, stepping closer, and why I can't stay. They'll never accept what I am. Kale's wolf stirred beneath his skin, torn between fury and awe. He reached out, his hand trembling as it brushed hers. I don't care what you are, you're mine. Her breath hitched hope, flickering for the first time in days, but before she could answer, heavy footsteps echoed from the corridor. The beta's voice rang out. Alpha Kale, the council demands your presence. They've discovered the truth about her. Leora's eyes widened in fear. Kale rose, his strength returning with the surge of rage. They won't touch her, but in his gut he knew this was only the beginning, because if the pack knew what she truly was, they would see her not as Luna, but as a weapon. The council chamber was filled with wolves' elders, warriors, and the beta standing proudly at the front. The full moon poured through the high windows, cold and merciless, as if the goddess herself watched the trial. Kale entered first, his aura heavy and dark, the air trembling with his barely contained fury. Leora followed, her head low, hood shadowing her face. Whispers rippled through the hall like venom. There she is, the cursed one, the Alpha's shame. Kale's gaze swept the room. Enough, he said, his voice a low growl that silenced them instantly. Elder Rowan stepped forward. Alpha Kale, we have reason to believe the woman you protect is not what she claims. Reports say a wolf of unnatural color fought the rogues white as moonlight, the same night this human girl disappeared. Kale's jaw flexed. And that proves what? Before Rowan could answer, the beta Darius spoke. It proves she's been lying to you, to all of us. His tone dripped with false loyalty. You've risked our pack for her. Leora flinched, lifting her gaze toward the beta and froze. His smirk was faint, deliberate. She saw it, then the flicker of black veins creeping along his temple, hidden beneath the skin, the scent that had haunted the rogues. You, she whispered, you brought them here. Gasps broke through the room. Darius only smiled, careful little half, blood, lies don't suit your kind. Kale's claws lengthened. What did you say? But before he could strike, Darius turned to the council. This creature carries forbidden power. She's not a wolf, she's moonblood. The same line that once cursed our kind. A roar of outrage filled the chamber. She'll bring ruin. She's a monster. End her before she ends us. Leora's hands trembled. She stepped forward, eyes wet but blazing. You think I chose this. I saved you all. I saved him. The hall erupted into chaos. Kale raised his voice. Enough, but his command was drowned by the frenzy. He turned to Darius, realization dawning the beta had planned this. He'd poisoned their trust, turned fear into a weapon. You betrayed me, Kale snarled. Darius's grin widened. No, Alpha, I'm saving the pack from your weakness. In an instant, steel flashed, a blade of wolfsbane forged for royal bloodlines. Darius lunged. Kale barely dodged, but the scent of poison filled the air. Leora screamed as Kale stumbled, a deep gash burning across his side. Guards rushed forward. Chaos exploded. Darius vanished into the shadows, his laughter echoing like thunder. Kale fell to one knee, gasping, vision blurring. Leora caught him before he hit the ground, her hands glowing faintly with moonlight as she pressed them to his wound. Stay with me, please, he managed a whisper, broken and soft. Leora, run. But she didn't move, not this time. The moonlight flared, wrapping them both in silver light, and the pack watched in stunned silence as her power answered his dying breath. The hall had fallen silent except for the sound of Kale's ragged breathing. He lay in Leora's arms, his blood seeping across the marble floor, blackened by the wolfsbane's poison. The pack stood frozen, torn between horror and disbelief. The Alpha, their strength, their leader was dying. Leora pressed trembling hands to his wound, her tears falling onto his skin. Please, she whispered, don't you dare leave me. Kale's eyes fluttered open. I told you to run. I'm done running, she breathed, not from them, not from what I am. The scent of wolfsbane was suffocating, thick in the air. Her power trembled beneath her skin, clawing to get out. Pain lanced through her chest, the curse tightening, resisting her awakening. She bowed her head over him. You said the Moonbloods were cursed. She whispered, but maybe the curse was never punishment. Maybe it was protection. Her eyes snapped open, glowing bright gold. The ground trembled. A pulse of energy rippled outward, shattering the council's silver chains, shaking the walls. Leora's body arched as moonlight poured from her skin, wrapping her and Kale in a silvery cocoon that burned through the darkness. The elders fell to their knees, the moon's chosen. One gasped, Kale's heart stopped, the world went utterly still, and then a howl, low, mournful, powerful. The cocoon burst apart, revealing not a woman, but a wolf of impossible beauty silver, white fur streaked with lunar light, eyes blazing with divine fire. The air shimmered around her as ancient power awakened. She turned toward Cale's still form, lowering her head until her muzzle touched his chest. Her tears liquid moonlight fell upon his heart. "Come back to me." Her voice whispered through the bond, no longer bound by words but by soul. Her howl rose, piercing through clouds and storms, calling not just to the pack, but to the moon goddess herself, and the moon answered. The mark between them, once dim and severed, reignited, glowing with pure white flame. Cale's chest heaved once, then again, until his breath returned with a gasp that filled the hall like thunder. The light around them faded slowly, revealing Leora human again, but radiant, unbroken. Cale opened his eyes, dazed. "Leora," she smiled weakly, brushing his hair back. "You died on me, Alpha." He caught her hand, pulling it to his chest. "Then I guess I owe you my life again." The pack, stunned into silence, bowed instinctively, not out of fear, but reverence. For the first time in centuries, they witnessed the rebirth of a Moonblood, the lost heir of the divine line. Cale rose to his feet, his arm around her, eyes blazing with newfound strength. "Anyone who calls her cursed," he said, voice like a vow, "answers to me." Leora's wolf stirred within, whispering with pride, no longer hidden, no longer bound, and as the moonlight bathed them both, the bond between Alpha and Luna, between mortal and divine, was sealed once more. The night after the battle was quiet, too quiet. The pack house still bore scars of the fight, shattered windows, scorched stone, the scent of blood and magic lingering in the air. But for the first time in years, peace had returned. The rogues were gone. The traitor, Darius, slain by his own poison, and in the heart of it all, Cale and Leora stood beneath the open sky, where the moon hung full and luminous, neither cruel nor distant now, but watchful, warm. The pack gathered below them, uncertain, waiting. Cale's voice carried through the night. "You called her cursed." He said, his gaze sweeping the crowd. "You called her danger, witch, outsider." His tone deepened, the Alpha's authority pulsing through each word. "But when I fell, when your Alpha's heart stopped beating, it was she who brought me back, she who fought for every one of you. Tell me what curse saves a life instead of taking it." Silence answered him. Then, one by one, the wolves' knelt heads bowed in respect. Leora's breath hitched. Her hands trembled at her sides. Cale turned to her, his eyes softening. "You hid because you thought your truth would destroy you. But it's your truth that saved us all." The moonlight caught her hair, silvering it with divine shimmer. "I was never meant to lead anyone," she whispered. "I just wanted to survive." "You did more than that," Cale murmured. "You reminded us what it means to live." He stepped closer, taking her hand. The pack held its breath as he lifted it to his lips, pressing a kiss to her palm, a vow, a surrender, a promise. "Leora of the Moonblood," he said, his voice steady. "You are my mate, my equal, my Luna, not because of your power, but because you are the heart that tames the beast within me." Her tears shimmered like stars. "And you," she said softly, "are the reason my wolf finally stopped hiding." As their foreheads met, the bond between them pulsed, no longer burning, but warm and whole. A silvery mark bloomed on both their wrists, identical and eternal. The pack howled as one, a sound that rolled across the hills and into the heavens. Above them, the moon flared brighter, as though the goddess herself smiled upon their union. Leora leaned against Cale's chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart, the same heart that had stopped beneath her hands only hours ago. "What now?" she asked quietly. Cale smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Now we build something new, a world where no wolf ever has to hide who they are." She smiled back, her wolf purring in quiet joy, and as the night stretched around them, filled with the music of howls and wind, the Alpha and his Luna stood beneath the moon, not cursed, not broken, but reborn. The truth was no longer hidden. It sang through every heartbeat, every breath, every howl that rose toward the stars. The forest was different now. Where once the shadows whispered of danger, they now hummed with life. The blood moon lands had begun to heal, grass sprouting over scorched soil, new cubs tumbling through the clearings, laughter echoing where fear used to reign. Leora walked along the ridge overlooking the valley, the wind tugging gently at her hair. The moon hung full and bright above her, painting her skin in silver. She could feel her wolf beneath the surface, no longer sleeping, no longer chained. "We are one now," the wolf murmured within her. "No more hiding," Leora smiled faintly. "No more hiding," she echoed. Behind her, heavy footsteps approached. Kale's scent reached her first, that familiar mix of pine, rain, and wild heat. His arms slid around her waist, pulling her gently against him. "You shouldn't be out here alone," he murmured against her ear. She leaned back into him with a teasing smile. "Afraid I'll run away again." His chuckle rumbled through her chest. "No, I'm afraid I'll blink, and you'll turn into moonlight and disappear." She turned to face him, her gaze soft. "If I ever do, I'll still be watching from right here." She placed her hand over his heart. "You've got enough moonlight in you now." Kale caught her hand and kissed her wrist, right where their twin marks glowed faintly. "You gave it to me." They stood in silence for a while, the forest stretching endlessly before them, peaceful at last. "You know," Kale said quietly, "the council disbanded today. The pack elders are rebuilding the laws with your name carved into them." She blinked, surprised. "My name, as the first Luna who wasn't born of rank," he said, "the one who proved that blood doesn't define worth, heart does." Her throat tightened. "Kale," he smiled, brushing a thumb along her jaw. "You changed them, Leora, you changed me." She laughed softly. "You mean I drove you insane?" "That too." His grin softened into something tender. "But I'd lose my mind again if it meant finding you." The wind shifted, carrying the faint sound of howling young wolves testing their voices beneath the full moon. Leora tilted her head, listening. "They're getting bolder," she said with pride. "They have a Luna worth howling for," Kale replied. Her cheeks flushed as she looked up at him. "You always know what to say, don't you?" He leaned closer, his voice a low growl. "Only when it comes to you." The kiss that followed was slow, deep, and full of everything they'd survived: the storms, the secrets, the fire, and the forgiveness. When they finally pulled apart, the moonlight seemed to wrap around them like a blessing. Kale whispered the goddess was right. Leora tilted her head. "About what?" He smiled, eyes shining gold in the night. "That even the wildest wolves can find their way home." Leora rested her head on his shoulder, watching the moon through the trees, the same moon that had once cursed her, and now crowned her. No longer hiding. No longer feared. Just a woman, a wolf, and the alpha who loved her under the same eternal sky. And somewhere in the distance, the forest sang back a lullaby of freedom, of forgiveness, of fated love finally fulfilled. The end for real this time.